the three works that we saw, the first and the third, were already in the repertory when you came, and you brought and introduced the Ratmansky piece. So kind of, if you can give us kind of an overview about what this program as a whole kind of reflects about the trajectory of Washington Ballet, how it evolved, especially under the previous director, Septime Weber, and what he built over 17 years, and then also how it reflects the direction that you'd like to take it.
Right. Well, I think another strong quality of the Washington Ballet is their versatility, and so having a diverse program that shows the range of their capability was important. But exactly as you mentioned, trying to, when Pam called with the invitation to participate this summer, we had just started our season, and so the new works that we had that reflect my vision for the company, there weren't that many to choose from because we had just started. And so Petite Mort was a ballet that I danced at American Ballet Theatre, and when I was preparing last season's program very hastily, because we were under such a time crunch, I saw that ballet. I know it's beautiful, and I knew that the company had done it, so it had enough dancers to dance it, which is, if you're not... that's the number one thing. And so I thought that would be wonderful. And then Seven Sonatas was a ballet that I was in the original cast. And again, it's a really beautiful piece and extremely difficult and challenging. And so I thought it would be a great food for the dancers to really dig and get to the next level in a multitude of ways. Trying to find a closer is a challenge on any program because it's important to leave with the right, on the right tone and level, and to have the full spectrum of the performance. So I also wanted, exactly as you said, the dancers have had a long history, the ones that are senior in this company of dancing for Septime Weber, and they have pride of ownership of certain ballets, and I wanted them to be very comfortable dancing something fun. I wanted them to really be happy about it as well, and so I suggested a couple pieces to Pam, and she really loved the idea of Sombrerisimo for a couple of reasons that she highlighted in her curtain speech about that it was the male dancers in tribute to Ted Shawn, and also highlighting Annabelle Lopez Ochoa and the co-commission for Ballet Hispanico. And I think Pam also creates opportunities for women and in leadership roles, whether it's in choreographic roles or highlighting female artistic directors. So I appreciate that a lot too.
I want to zero in on the Ratmansky. When we spoke earlier this summer, you had said that it's really important for dancers to dance to live music, that's a way that they grow. Can you elaborate on that? What about the live music kind of challenges them in a new way, and is that something that you want to bring more of to the company?
Of course. I mean, I think that, music and dance are sisters, and if one sister's phoning it in, it's just not gonna be the same experience. When you're dancing to taped music, it's just the whole phrasing gets to be, you can do 3 pirouettes, you know exactly, and you just map it out. And so in some instances, it's just easier, but it does not create that response that we in the audience are hungry for, and for the dancers to make those just minute calculations. Is it one more turn, one less turn, or just how, and Ratmansky does it so beautifully in Seven Sonatas, and that the steps and the dance and the music are completely integrated. You're almost making the music with the steps, it's such an important part of a dancer's development. And also just every great ballet company dances to live music. I mean, it's really should be a given, especially in our nation's capital, that our ballet company of the nation's capital dances to a live orchestra. But that's part of our mission, to really build that identity that Washington, D.C., although with the Kennedy Center, they're wonderful presenters or importers of great dance from other places. They, as a city, our nation's capital, which we all should take ownership of, should also be a place that grows and owns their own art that is of a national standard. And thank you. So that's my message and our mission, and something that we're really hoping for, and I think is really important in our capital city to have.
Another quick question of the first and the third. This is Petite Mort and Sombrerisimo. We see something that we don't often see in a ballet dance, which is lots of props. And I'm curious, the difficulty and the challenges that present for the dancers for rehearsing, if there's a special process of becoming comfortable with fencing foils or bowler hats, or even those kind of beautiful faux gowns. How do you work with the kind of the unpredictability of those props in a work?
Well, I'm going to pass this to Victor, because anyone who's been aware of his performing career knows that he's probably handled more props and capes and swords and foils and hats and anything than anyone.
Seriously, the idea of using props is the same idea that as a male dancer you apply to partnering a ballerina. You learn to control it, and you learn what the principles and the elements of that particular prop are. For instance, some of these swords during the course of the first section of the ballet, they wrap the swords around themselves, and the blades bend. So by the time they get to the floor, it's like this shape. And if you've ever tried to roll something that's like a half a circle, they don't roll very well. So you have to learn the difference between how much impetus to give it to make it roll in the beginning when it's flat, and then later when it's bent, or when the bell is bent, and so it wobbles around in a circle rather than roll. And you just have to learn those things in the same way that when you're partnering a ballerina, some of them need to be helped a little bit that way, and some need to be helped a little bit that way. And some of them have higher jumps. You don't have to help them as much, and some don't have so much of a jump, and you really have to help them a lot. It's exactly the same with the props. You can't expect the prop just to do what you would like for it to do. You need to do what the prop needs, and it takes a lot of practice and a lot of rehearsal, because it should be second nature. It shouldn't look like you have something you don't know what to do with. It should be part of an extension of your body and your physicality. So thanks for noticing. That takes quite a bit of extra rehearsal to control those sombreros.
Victor, you had been serving as the Associate Artistic Director of ABT. You had been Kevin Mackenzie's right-hand man. Also, as we noted earlier, Kevin Mackenzie is a product of the School of Washington Ballet. What have you learned in that capacity about keeping a company in top shape and in good spirits, and what advice have you passed on to your new boss?
It's complicated and it's pretty simple. This is really hard what they do, and they get up in the morning and do the class, and they rehearse for 6 or 7 hours a day, and then they come in and do the performances at night. And you need a lot of encouragement. You need a lot of nurturing. You need to know a lot of psychology, because you have to deal with people. American Ballet Theater has, any given year, anywhere from 90 to 100 dancers. And everybody's trying to make their lives and build their career, and you have people that have been doing it for 15 or 18 or 20 years, and they're internationally known and they're famous, and they can sort of, when they go out guesting, they can dictate their own terms, and they can decide what they want to dance, and people come. And then you have people who are just starting. You have dancers who are 17 or 18 years old, and they're moving to New York City for the first time in their lives, and they need someone to take them under the wing a little bit and explain to them how to continue this really difficult career, which takes, you have to be really strong mentally, and you have to be dedicated, and you have to want it, and you have to be strong physically, and you have to eat well, and you have to rest, and you have to understand what choreographers want from you. And they're not necessarily always the most sensitive people in the world, because they're trying to get their product out there, and they're just as happy to say, I don't want that person in the room anymore because I don't think they're up to my standard. And then you have to go to the choreographer and go, I think you're wrong about this. You need to give it a little bit of time, and can we make that decision at the end of the process, when you've given that person an opportunity to grow and to learn and to prove what they're capable of doing, because this is the dancer from the next generation that's going to go on and be that star, unless you crush them on the first opportunity they have to work with a famous choreographer. And sometimes you achieve that, and sometimes you don't with the choreographer. But what you always have to achieve is that you end up giving that dancer hope and inspiration to keep going. I've learned there's basically two kind of artistic directors. There's mentors and there's dictators. And coming from the society that we came in with American Ballet Theatre, we want to be nurturers and mentors and help the people to grow, rather than force them to do something and say, you either do it this way or you don't have a career in front of you, you're out. That's just not, we were asked when we first came, when it was announced that Julie was taking this position, one of the first questions was, wow, gee, how many dancers are you going to get rid of? And the answer was none, because we don't know them and we haven't seen them work to any extent. We don't know what they've been asked to do. We don't know what direction they've been given. So how could it be fair to make a judgment on someone without coming in and giving them everything you know and all the knowledge that you can to help them be the best they can? And once they're the best they can be, which sounds like a cliche, but it's not in the case, that if you have the opportunity to do the most you can with your talents, then you can achieve something. If you squelch that before it has a chance to grow, then I don't think it's the fault of the person that didn't make it. It's the fault of the person that didn't help them to come along. So that's what I learned, and that's our philosophy, is to try to help them. I have the greatest admiration, having been a dancer for 42 years in American Ballet Theatre, greatest respect for what it is that they do every day, and I don't for one day take it for granted or forget how hard they're working or how much support they need to achieve their dreams.
Tengo una espinita que canta dolor flotando. Tengo una fierita gritándome desde dentro. No es mí, no es yo. Tengo una penita que sopla, no ventila. Mi remolón. ¿Pa qué? Seguir llorando, ¿pa qué? Si solo son 3 días, mi niña, y nos quedan 2. ¿Pa qué? Seguir llorando, ¿pa qué? Si solo son 3 días, mi